Another question here from Ben. Michael, is it possible or will it ever be possible to zoom in on audio in the timeline further than a single frame, like can be done in Premiere Pro, where you can zoom into the milliseconds?
Currently, no, we can only go down to a frame in the timeline. This is one of the issues of, people are like, why Pro Tools, between Pro Tools, your own Pro Tools. Pro Tools goes down to the sample level. Media Composer still can only go down to the frame. But if you didn't know, if you do have media, I'm going to go to the source browser and bring in another clip with some dialogue. Let's link to doc right here. And so if I have media or media that has audio with it.
A plane flew over, a motorcycle went by, but that's the take,
So if you right click and go to source settings, you know that you have your color encoding, so you can add a lookup table to your source. You have frame flex if you want to choose a tighter shot or change the to a more desired area to reframe your shots. But we also have the audio tab, and this was brought in, I guess, several versions ago, where you can now go and slip the audio by perf, so sub frame level. If you want, maybe the audio has slipped on the sequence, you can actually go in and slip the audio on the sequence side, and then that can be cut into the timeline. So it's not, answering your question as far as what can be happening. I mean, I did answer your question that you can't do it in the timeline, but if you do need to slip something a little tighter on the source side, you can do it, and then that will, change how it's edited into the timeline. So not fully what you want, but hopefully a little workaround that might help.
Thanks,
so you can
Michael.
slip audio on
There's
that
one
side.
here from Angie from QT up in Brisbane. Is there an option to edit VR or 360 video projects?
Editing VR in 360, well, we don't have it within, we didn't make it in Media Composer, but the Mocha plugin from Boris can be added to Media Composer. So if you do have 360 media, you can use the Mocha plugin that works inside of the Media Composer application and do some editing and actually see the 360 and use any of the tools that Mocha provides inside of Media Composer. But it's not something that we've made directly. It is a plugin that's required. A good question.
And there's a couple more here. Belinda, hello Belinda. Can you use the perf on subclips that have been created as subclips as separate audio and video files?
So you're asking if I subclip this, we go to source settings. Looks like source settings can be, or subclips can be changed in the source settings as well, if that's what you're asking. But they're not separate. If they are separate, you do have to marry them or make them into a single clip, auto sync the audio and the video together to make a single clip to be able to do that inside of the source settings. Otherwise, it's just, you're not matching audio to anything. So you do have to create a video and audio clip in order to be able to see it and sync it here.
Right, and David Woodward's
there are some other.
Sorry.
Sorry.
David Woodward's asking, where do you turn on audio waveforms and keyframes?
Oh, this is actually really interesting as well. I'm going to go to another sequence or another project. Because there's a couple of things here that I want to show you that are nice tools. Again, this is not part of the new version. This is something that is in a current version. But if I have some music, let me bring in a music clip down here. Let's see how this is. Okay, it's not fantastic music, but you get the right idea. So I'm going to take that music, I'm going to drop it down a couple of tracks, and then I have some editors speaking. So we have Stuart right here. We're going to put him there. We have Kim Marking in and out on Kim. I'm just doing some rough, quick edits. And I'll just trim out Doc a little bit right there. Perfect. Amazing. So if I want to turn on waveforms, the way that's done is you have to open up the little track panel right here to the right of the timeline or the time code, and then I can turn on my waveforms. So that's how they're turned on. In version 7 of Media Composer, we actually cached the waveforms. So if you're used to older versions, it might take a while for your waveforms to draw. Now they're pretty instantaneous. But for keyframing, I want to show you a new trick here. One way to do it is using a feature that we've included, I guess a couple years ago, called audio ducking. So if you right-click in the timeline window, you can choose audio ducking. If you go under the timeline selection, there's audio ducking here. And all you're doing is you're choosing what tracks are your dialogue tracks and what tracks are your music tracks. And then when you click duck, it has processed and automatically.
I'm very happy to see scripting come back.
Drops down the audio. It automatically keyframed for me. And you can go in and change it. If I was to trim in some more audio here, maybe trim this out because he wasn't actually speaking. If you look at the timeline, the waveform, then all I have to do is audio duck again. You see your parameters right here let you choose the threshold and hold time for the dialogue or the attenuation and ramp time for the music. Click duck. It's just going to keyframe it.
I'm very happy to see scripting come back. Whew.
All right. And I can still go in and move those keyframes. Now, if you do want to manually keyframe, all you're doing is you are hitting whatever, I forget what the keyframe is. Let's see, is it down here? Yeah, if you, by default, the keyframe is the apostrophe. So you'll see every time I hit an apostrophe, it's adding a keyframe that I can go in and grab and move the keyframe up and down. If I mark around a region and select the keyframes, it takes all the keyframes in that region. So you could do it manually, or you can do it automatically with the audio ducking. I hope that answered your question.
So I think we've got 3 minutes to go. There are 2 more questions there.
Yes.
And one is from Jordan, which is that, is there a way to zoom in on the timeline bar in your source window, the green bar under Doc Wild?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I'll ask the second one straight away, Michael, because we've only got a couple of minutes to go. Is it possible to customize the scissors and weightlifter icons to be arrows like what he's used to? So.
Oh, interesting. Being able to zoom in, wow, little things that I've never even thought of. I know if you start adding a lot of markers here, there is a way to zoom in, or a lot of keyframes. You can zoom in because sometimes your keyframes get a little tight. So once you start adding keyframes here, there is a little slider that comes on the end here that you'll be able to pull to change that a little bit. And the other question was, again, I'm sorry?
Is it possible to customize the scissors and weightlifter icons to be arrows, like what people do?
I don't think that is possible. I think, let's go ahead and we'll take a look at the command palette, because I think they are still, yeah, the lift and extract, they're back to the original. So they're not the ones that they were before.
Right. There's 2 more. Can you view audio waveforms in the source window?
The viewing, you can't view it in the source window, and what we tell people is you can always switch your view. So instead of seeing the timeline as your record window, you see it as your source, and you can just switch back and forth and see waveform there.
Right. And the last question is extra video memory RAM allocation just as important for playing back high-res media codecs as previous versions of Media Composer?
I think adding more to the video RAM does, any more RAM additionally added will help. I don't know what, specific is there. I know a lot of RAM, we normally say, I think 16 gigs is at a minimum for high res, but I think most systems, people are populating with 32, which is definitely substantial.
Right, which brings us to the hour. So I think I would like to conclude. I noticed a couple of people were interested in understanding when the product's going to be released. So if you visit avid.com right now, the main banner on our homepage will allow you to click through to the new landing page that's specific to the new Media Composer.